welcome back to the PPSW, otherwise known as the Space Gulag, your favorite hangout place. Today we're back with another love story. Today we're doing what would have happened if Anakin Skywalker had fallen in love with Aayla Secura. I think this is kind of far-fetched, but it was a lot of fun to write. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you want a free lightsaber, and subscribe to Concordia Jedi. He did an amazing job in our previous video a couple days ago, so subscribe to him as well. Let's get straight into it. As we know, Anakin, having grown up on Tatooine, was susceptible to attachments, and it happened to be the reason of his downfall into Darth Vader. So what would have happened if Anakin Skywalker fell in love with another Jedi within the Jedi Temple? Instead of eventually falling in love and marrying Padmé and having children, what if he fell in love with Aayla Secura? Now, let's identify one key factor before this theory begins. Fisto and Secura had a friendship in canon, not a romantic relationship, so we'll be journeying down this path rather than another one competing with a love interest. So we're going to stick to canon like we normally do. The story begins in the Jedi Temple when Anakin is brought in to begin his training. He crosses paths with a beautiful young Jedi Knight by the name of Aayla Secura. Anakin felt an attraction to her, but would carry on through his training. So it's kind of just a walking by, like, Aayla Secura is kind of noticeable. She walks around not wearing traditional Jedi robes, so obviously it would be something that Anakin would remember, remembering seeing a Jedi that didn't look like a normal Jedi. Now, much of the established canon wouldn't change until Attack of the Clones. Here, Anakin is actually very mature when it comes to meeting Padmé. He still remembers how he felt for her as a boy, but he has developed as a man, going towards an attachment with Aayla Secura. When Anakin and Padmé are separated for their journey to Naboo, and the corresponding planets that follow, they do flirt a bit. They are flirting a little bit, but it's not really a romance, not a full-blown romance, because Anakin has interacted with Aayla in the Jedi Temple. Now, at the Battle of Geonosis, Anakin would ensure his feelings for Aayla Secura. They would fight side by side, back to back. Instead of them fighting as an Anakin fighting with Padmé back to back, he's fighting back to back with Aayla Secura. Their interaction is extremely natural, but nothing happens until after Anakin becomes a master to Ahsoka. Anakin would find himself broken on an unknown world after crashing in a Republic cruiser. Anakin had saved the lives of Bly, Aayla, Ahsoka, and Rex, but in the process he hurt himself very badly. On the unknown planet, he is cared for by both Aayla Secura and Ahsoka, but when Aayla asks Ahsoka to leave, her and Anakin share a moment, brief but concise. There's more than just a bond, it's something more. The two had spent time together in the temple, brief encounters, but they always felt magical to one another. They both felt a certain force pulling them together. But here on this planet, surrounded by the natural land, they'd found it was more than just a friendship. Though this moment would be cut short by two clones yelling about a probe droid they saw. Aayla jumped to her feet and ran out of the tent to chase down the probe droid. The rest of the arc would again be similar to canon. Anakin would help the natives defend themselves from the separatist test weapon, and the change in the canonical timeline is on the Venator after the battle for the natives. So if you don't remember the Clone Wars episode, there's a Venator that comes over and it comes out of hyperspace after they destroy the droid super weapon, and that's where we're picking up right there. Anakin is resting in his quarters when Aayla requests to enter. She sits on a chair adjacent from where Anakin is laying. Anakin sits up and thanks her again. She nods, but then turns to another topic, asking Anakin if he had felt the bond between the two of them. Anakin had admitted that he had harbored feelings for her since they first met at the temple, before he began his training. He told her that he found comfort from her when she helped him with his droids so long ago, and this is based off a comic including Anakin and Aayla Secura. She looked to the side and shyly admitted that she felt the same for him, but she cared for the Jedi Code, and Anakin admitted that he, as well, cared for the Jedi Code. Anakin leaned over and held her hands as they pondered what they should do. Aayla and Anakin returned to the Jedi Temple as the Venator docked at Coruscant's docking yards, preparing for the next mission of the war. The two Jedi made their way to the Jedi archives and requested Jocasta Nu's attention. Jocasta Nu understood why they were coming to her. She knew the code backwards and forwards, but she sensed how deep and the bond went. She motioned her hand and went to the restricted section of the temple. There, Jocasta Nu told the Jedi that 5,000 years ago, the Jedi librarian had changed the original Jedi Code, which was emotion, yet peace, ignorance, yet knowledge. Passion, yet serenity. Chaos, yet harmony. Death, yet the Force. The change to the code was much less restrictive for Jedi within the Order. Jocasta Nu thought momentarily and decided that she would approach the Council about changing the code back to its original format, without warranting a reason as to why she was going to do it. She just felt the need to do it, as if the Force was leading her down that path. The two would have to return to the battlefront until they last reconvened. They would keep close contact with each other over holo calls when they weren't leading their respective armies in the battle. The two, after months of separation, would finally meet in the Jedi Temple once again, where Aayla ran to Anakin's quarters to wait for his return to tell him the Council approved Jocasta Nu's request to change the Jedi Code. Why? Because they didn't really understand the change. They were more focused on the war effort, so they decided to go along with the change. Aayla and Anakin met in one of their respective quarters and shared several of the next days with each other before their next deployment. The rest of the Clone Wars play out this same way. Though, by the time Revenge of the Sith comes around, the scenario regarding Anakin has changed. Palpatine obviously still wants to turn Anakin to the dark side so that he can execute Order 66. But Anakin wasn't having nightmares. Anakin was in a healthy relationship, and Aayla was taking care of Anakin in a way that he only dreamed of. Not only was she elevating him as a Jedi, but she was a good partner. It's not to say that they were in a deep-seated relationship, right? We're saying that they're very, very kind and friendly with each other, and they spend a lot of time bonding with each other. They have a nice, almost marital bond, but they're not open about how far they want that bond to go. So it's kind of like your friend that's really close with somebody, but just kind of doesn't want to admit it. And it's kind of like that. Nothing really happens. It's not friends with benefits. It's kind of just friends, but more than friends, if you get where I'm going with this. Aayla and Anakin spent time sparring with each other and meditating, and building a stronger bond than a dyad of the Force could ever create. Anakin's motivations were to be the best Jedi he could, because Aayla inspired him to be like her. Anakin was welcomed to the Council, but for the purpose of spying on the Chancellor. He consulted Obi-Wan, who he was still extremely close to, but then he also consulted his beloved, Aayla Secura, and she promised him that it would be okay. She told him to trust in the Force, and that as the Clone Wars comes to an end, Palpatine, whether good or bad, will leave office. Anakin did trust Aayla Secura, and he did trust Obi-Wan, but he mostly believed that Aayla was right. She even told him that Ahsoka had finished her siege of Mandalore and was coming back to Coruscant with Maul in hand. The war felt closer than ever to ending, and in reality, it really was. Anakin returned to Palpatine's office and talked to him. Palpatine was vying for any upper hand he could get, and offered Anakin true power. He knew that Anakin wanted to be more powerful and that Anakin was intrigued by the offer, though Palpatine was unaware of the effect Aayla could have on Anakin because he was unaware of her presence in his life. Palpatine, without specific indication, spoke of what Anakin could achieve if he didn't waste his life obeying the Jedi Code. Anakin was hesitant to ask, but he did anyways, asking where all of this was coming from, why Palpatine was bringing this up now. Palpatine hinted at the nature of the dark side, and it sent Anakin into a quiet place. He considered, what if Palpatine was the Sith Lord? Anakin looked away from the Chancellor and told him he wasn't interested. Palpatine decided to let it go, and before Anakin left, he'd tell him to think on it, because it could affect those he cares about most, including Kenobi and Secura. This stuck inside of his head as he returned to the temple, thoughts of Obi-Wan losing to Grievous and Aayla dying on Felucia, but he held his own. He was confronted by the Master of the Order, Mace Windu. He told Windu about his encounter with Palpatine and how he was fearful of losing those close to him. Not to mention, Anakin was already concerned by the fact that he mentioned Aayla without Anakin having previously mentioned her to Palpatine. Windu thought this was rather odd coming from the Chancellor. He took note of it and then told Anakin to trust in the Force, not to fear what hasn't happened, telling Anakin that to give in to fear could hurt those he cared about more than letting go. Anakin was very appreciative that Windu told him this. He was very thankful, because Windu never really showed all that much kindness to him, but Windu wanted him to not really feel possessed to want to leave the Order. Days passed, and Kenobi returned, Ahsoka returned, Aayla returned, Plo Koon returned. Most of the Jedi Council reconvened with few exceptions. Anakin was sent to the Chancellor's office to tell him that the war was ending, and that it was time for him to give up his emergency powers. Aayla told Anakin that she would accompany him, because she knew that this would be very difficult for him to deal with. Aayla's presence would help Anakin calm his mind. He felt at balance. As he approached the Chancellor's office, he felt cold. He felt darkness, and worst of all, he felt fear. As he and Aayla entered, Palpatine turned in his chair to see what it was the Jedi had entered his office for. Anakin spoke first. "Chancellor, I've been sent here to ask you to revoke emergency powers." Palpatine was taken aback that Anakin had done this, and spoke quietly. "My boy, why is it you continue to be a pawn of the Jedi Council?" Aayla told the Chancellor that he wasn't a pawn, that he was doing the job of the Jedi, that the Chancellor's term had expired and it was time for him to step down. The Republic had won the war. "Your arrogance blinds you. The Jedi are not politicians. Rather, they are tools of the Republic. You placed yourself at that position. Servants to a cause not of your own." Palpatine saw Anakin's reaction, and then he figured it out. Anakin was infatuated with Aayla. He knew that if he pressed into Aayla, that Anakin's anger would eventually rise. "My boy, tell this decadent fool to leave us. I'd rather discuss this topic with an open-minded Jedi, not with the likes of which is blinded by the Jedi's greed." "What did you say?" "This Jedi is nothing more than a servant. She must leave. She has no thoughts of her own." Aayla felt Anakin's rage building, but she placed her hand on his shoulder, telling him that it was okay. She had his back no matter what, and Anakin's rage would subside. And he spoke clearly. "Chancellor Palpatine, in the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic, you will renounce your leadership position."
"Are you threatening me, boy?"
"The Senate will decide your fate."
"I am the Senate."
"No, you're not. The Senate is composed of systems across the galaxy."
"It's treason, then."
Palpatine rose to his feet, and then from his hands, a wave of electricity buzzed past Skywalker and sent Aayla into a wall behind him. Anakin was conflicted, but he ran to Aayla to make sure she was okay, and she was. Anakin then turned his attention to Palpatine, who was slowly walking towards him. Anakin stood and swung his lightsaber out as it ignited at Palpatine. But Palpatine was fast. He struck a parry and caught Anakin by surprise. It was a duel. The duel led them to the other room, where Anakin was being played with. Palpatine didn't want to kill him. He wanted to steal him, and most importantly, to stall him until Aayla was ready for action. Aayla awoke and steadied herself before she made her move to the other room to help Anakin. Palpatine saw her coming out of the corner of his eyes, and while she was running towards him, Palpatine's second blade fell from his robe and ignited into her chest. Anakin force-pushed Palpatine across the room and ran to her side. In a scene reminiscent of Obi-Wan and Satine, Aayla would tell Anakin that she loved him always and to trust in the Force. He held her, but then his demeanor changed. He rose from her lifeless corpse with fire in his eyes, and he stepped forward. Palpatine grinned.
"Good, Anakin, good. Feed your aggressive nature. Give in to your anger."
Anakin stopped. He thought back to Aayla, and what she would have wanted. Anakin regained his thinking. Anakin wasn't going to play this game. Instead, he said, "No, I am a Jedi." Palpatine's grin dropped into a visible disgust.
"So be it, Jedi."
Their duel would be fierce. Anakin was powerful, but he had much more training to go until he could even best someone as powerful as Sidious. Anakin was holding his own until he lost his footing. Palpatine was thrilled as he sent a wave of lightning at Anakin, who was able to block it before everything changed. A door opened from the corner of the room and the sounds of lightsabers ignited. Mace Windu ran in first, shouting for Skywalker. Palpatine was focused on this moment with Anakin that the state of the shock of the Jedi Council showing up blindsided him. Mace ran over and stood over Skywalker, shielding him from Palpatine's lightning burst. Kenobi helped up Anakin, and Plo Koon checked on Secura. She had been the one, after all, to contact the Jedi Council for reinforcements. Cornered by the four most powerful and elite Jedi in the Order, Palpatine laughed.
"All this time, I've had you all by the necks. All this time you never knew it was me. And now I will be your downfall."
Looking towards his hollow emitter, he pulled it with the Force. The Jedi surrounded the Chancellor, cornering him.
"Commander Fox, execute Order 66.
The Jedi knew this wasn't good. As they made their move on the Chancellor, all four blades crossed into the Chancellor at once. He couldn't defend against all blades, but before victory came loss. Aayla was gone, and Anakin was heartbroken, but he vowed to himself to stay true to the Jedi Code. Before celebration could begin, Sindralik called Windu. Clone troopers were attacking the Jedi Temple, and they needed reinforcements. The Jedi ran into an LA-AT gunship waiting for them, and when they arrived at the temple, there were Jedi scattered across the front of the temple. The clone pilots, unaware of what transpired, offered to help the Jedi, but were told to stand down. The four masters tried their best not to hurt the clones, but there were too many. Eventually, the entire Coruscant Guard was either dead or imprisoned, and the Jedi had survived. Their next steps forward had changed. Anakin was now a Jedi Master, like Obi-Wan, and the clones had their chips removed as they fought the rest of the war. Anakin did feel loss over the death of Aayla, but he did ponder what could have been, or what would have been, if she hadn't helped him stay at peace, even in her last moments of life. Woo! Another romance from Penti Patrol Star Wars. Tell me what you guys think. I kind of like where this one went. I really didn't want this to be too involved. I didn't want a sexual relationship to be really mentioned in this. Obviously, the Jedi Code allows for a sexual relationship without attachment, without actually being in love with somebody. So it's possible, it's up to your imagination. I didn't really feel the need to include it. This is not a NSFW fanfiction. This is literally just a story. But I really wanted to convey an emotional connection for Anakin. More so, an emotional connection that didn't really have any imbalance to it, right? Padmé had a very imbalanced relationship with Anakin. Just with the Rush Clovis situation alone already made Anakin lose trust for her, because Rush Clovis was a psycho and Padmé was playing that, you know, bad cop, good cop kind of game with the Clovis, and in a way almost cheated on Anakin in front of him with Clovis. And then she got mad at him for doing it. So, for her doing that. So, Anakin had a very unhealthy relationship with Padmé. I think that's clear, and it's very clairvoyantly shown throughout the Clone Wars that it's an unhealthy relationship. Even Padmé is like, oh, I need to break it up. But this is a relationship that I'm trying to convey is actually rather healthy. They love each other, and I want to make sure that's very clear. They do love each other, but it's not a bad love. It's a love that's both respectful, and it's also a love that's very intimate. And that's what I was going for here. I wanted an intimate love for Anakin and Aayla to have, something that it was more of a bond than, you know, just sexual. And honestly, that's kind of what I was going for here. So I do hope you guys enjoyed this. I know you guys were probably looking for that because Aayla Secura is on the thumbnail. I know. No, we're not doing that. This is a theory just for everybody. A family-friendly theory. But, I mean, what I was really going for is Aayla having a more prominent effect on Anakin's mentality as a Jedi, and that's what I tried to convey at the end of this theory. So do tell me down below what you thought about this theory. If you guys liked it, tell me what you thought. Did you like the idea of it? Did you want it to go into more NSFW content? But that's not happening. I'm not doing that. Don't even think about that. No. That's not happening. But, you know, is that something that you expected this to go into, or did you expect a true love story to kind of come out of this? Did you expect Anakin to grow from having a connection with a Jedi? Because that's again the most important and pivotal point in this story, is that Aayla was a Jedi and that she was a very respected Jedi. She was very powerful and she was very confident in herself, which made her a very, very deadly Jedi and also a very great Jedi, because she was confident in her own and in her actions. I mean, she literally didn't wear Jedi robes because she was saying, look, we as Twi'lek women are stronger than what we are perceived as across the galaxy. That's why she didn't don the Jedi robes. So she's a very strong Jedi, and she's a very, you know, charismatic Jedi, and that effect I think would have been great on Anakin. So down below, tell me what you thought about this theory, and tell me what I could have done better. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. I love you all. Don't forget to subscribe to Concordia Jedi down below, and subscribe to PPSW if you want a chance to win a free lightsaber when we hit 10K. We're making our way. We're almost at, what is it, 1.1K? That's pretty great. I'm loving it. I'm very thrilled. You guys are blowing this channel up, so let's keep at it. Anyways, guys, always remember, may the Force be with you.